This is V81 Radio Worldwide.
Who are we? We are the Philippine Retailers Association, the pulse and voice of Philippine retail, recognized as a national organization of retailers and suppliers in the country. The PRA membership represents nearly 80% of the retail industry, which counts all major players like SM, Robinsons, Ayala Malls, Rustan's, Araneta Center, Bench, Mercury Drug, Pen Shop, Wilcon Depot, and more. So why join PRA? It is our goal to get your business in the right track, and to make this possible, the PRA offers exclusive privileges that will surely add value to your membership. PRA members in good standing can enjoy exclusive discounts for their music licensing under PhilSCAP, which is required by the law in compliance with the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. As a pulse and voice of retail, we represent your interests on issues confronting the industry, such as bills on the further liberalization of the retail trade, music copyright issue, contractualization, use of thermal POS printers, price tag law, among others. As a member, you can take advantage of special rates and discounts for various educational programs and projects we regularly conduct to help you advance and develop your skills and competencies and help your business grow. There are seminars, conferences, and expos, high-level and exclusive meetings, which will give you infinite opportunities for the growth and development of your business. As part of our commitment to also help retailers in the regions have access to our educational programs, we conduct regional roadshows all over the country. The PRA also conducts a 2-day career expo, which seeks to generate continuous source of qualified candidates for various levels and positions in the retail business. It is strategically held in malls to help generate increased foot traffic and correspondingly help increase sales for the retailers. PRA members enjoy exclusive privileges through the PRA BizCard, a unique program which offers members exclusive discounts, special offers, and other offerings from associate members and other suppliers. At the same time, it also allows a business-to-business transaction between regular and associate members, which is mutually beneficial for both parties, where trust and loyalty can be established. And since we want to add more value to your membership, we are offering the PRA Premier Members Card, a rewards program to serve and incentivize all members who are actively participating in PRA events and programs. We encourage and recognize Filipino retailers who have epitomized the model of success in terms of growth and good ethical best practices through the Outstanding Filipino Retailers and Shopping Center of the Year Awards, or OFRC. To support members in their employee recognition programs, the PRA spearheaded the Retail Employees Day program for the Philippines, which is celebrated every December 12. With the support of all members of the PRA, we recognize and celebrate retail employees for their role in the retail business. You have exclusive access to information and publications for industry development available in the PRA library. Through your membership in the PRA, we can help grow your network and access to local international networks through our affiliations with large influential business organizations locally and globally, like the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the Employers Confederation of the Philippines, the Federation of Asia-Pacific Retailers Association, the Federation of International Retail Associations, and the National Retail Federation, the world's largest retail organization. Such networks provide unlimited benefits of being connected to the local and global world of business and retail. So, who can be a member? All retailers in all formats, shopping centers, as well as suppliers of products and services to the retail industry are encouraged to join and be a part of the PRA community. How to become a PRA member? We have 3 types of membership to cater to your needs. There's a regular membership for those who are directly involved in the retail business. Associate membership for corporations or entities engaged in the business of supplying products or services to retailers. And chapter members who are any organized group of retailers doing business in the Philippines. Being a member of the PRA will give your company endless possibilities and opportunities to give your company what it needs to grow, expand, prosper, and become globally competitive. Because at PRA, our only business is helping your business grow.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy. Mga kantang tatak Pinoy. Kahit nasan ka man, kami ay mapapakinggan. Streaming worldwide. The future of radio in Manila, California, and Hong Kong. This is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin. Ito ang radio ko, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan, kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. Oh, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. Dahil mahal namin kayo, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
Technology allows us to explore a variety of opportunities. So why not grab one for you? Kickstart your online business with BENTA. Create an account, visit our store builder, then make your online shop. Be visible, gain customers, and run your business hassle-free. Plus, enjoy the support of our local merchandising team to maximize our platform. Make technology work for you with BENTA, Pinoy e-commerce site made for you. After this pandemic, let's support the Filipino community. Buy local, visit local, go local.
alone are worthy of honor, glory, and praise. With you, we can overcome every storm, including the global impact COVID-19 is having on our world. We pray to you, God of mercy, for all who are suffering directly and indirectly during this global pandemic. May you sustain, console, and heal them. We pray to you, God of grace, for all good efforts to rescue life and to maintain people's health. May you strengthen, guide, and protect all, especially those who have committed the fight against this disease. We pray to you, God of righteousness, for justice to prevail. Give our leaders a profound wisdom as they navigate through this pandemic and economic uncertainty. Calm our fears. Fill us with your hope, joy, and peace as we continue to trust in you. Come, Lord Jesus. Come to our heart and soul. In Jesus' name, amen.
Good day, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today in the 10th episode of the PRA Virtual Learning Series. I'm CJ Hasena. I'll be your moderator for today. There are more than 500 registrants coming from many places. The National Capital Region, Cebu, Pangasinan, Rizal, Iloilo, Tugigaraw, Laguna, Sidio, Pampanga, Bulacan, Bacolod. Good afternoon to you. From abroad, we also have international attendees from, from Hong Kong, New Delhi, Doha, Yangon, and Singapore. From our country to yours, mabuhay. The pandemic has brought not just the virus, but also brought stress. One expert said it's chronic stress, which has triggered physiological, psychological, and physical manifestations. And mental health has always been stigmatized. So for today's session, we will destigmatize it and demystify it with the help of our experts. We hear of people na may pinagdadaanan, may hugot. So from this webinar, we'd like to make it relevant to our members. We want it to be, you want you to be able to pick up simple and applicable tips. Okay. The operative word again is destigmatize and demystify. Before we officially start, may we call on our PRA chairman and the president of Picture City, attorney Paul Santos, to welcome everyone. Paul?
Thank you, CJ. And on behalf of the PRA Board of Directors, let me all welcome you to today's webinar, which marks our 10th episode in the last 2 months since we started this virtual learning series last April. This as a way to help our members and the general retailing community to be ready as we face the challenges of this modern day pandemic and the new normal as quarantines are eased down in many parts of the country. With your continuous participation and support to this initiative, we are likewise very much inspired and driven to continue doing this to serve you and provide a digital learning platform with topics and themes that will be of help to you. In the last few weeks, we have already talked about and opened conversations on threading, surviving, thriving, and building resiliency in the new normal in our virtual learning series. But for today's topic, we will be focusing more on the fundamental building blocks of any company or organization, its people. With the uncertainty of our economic condition and fear for our health, mental and emotional, is a relevant topic during this time of pandemic. And as we continue to move to the new normal, let us not forget to likewise look into our mental well-being, both of our business leaders and its people. Today, we are joined by experts from Vigor Leadership, which offers management consultancy and leadership advice, among others, to talk about mental and emotional health in times of crisis and even beyond. I wish that everyone will have an enlightening time this afternoon and feel free to join in the conversation. As we further await new developments in the coming days and weeks, many might be full of anxieties adjusting to numerous guidelines by the government and at the same time addressing your people's or personal concerns and limitations. Still, let us continue to pray and work together for the healing of our country. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. Keep safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Paul. Paul left already. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. We'd like to do a shout out for our PRA Cebu chapter. They're watching. My former colleagues in Metro Retail Group, thank you for joining us. The duty free team is also here watching. So we want to thank also our platform partners, Big Media, our technology partner, Big BENTA, our media partner, V81 Radio, and our program partner, Talk Shop Asia. They have helped us make this webinar possible. Today's webinar is in partnership with management consultants, a management consulting group called Vigor Leadership. They're agents of positive change. They're passionate about making life easier, better, happier, and more meaningful. They exist to evolve and help others evolve, and they are dynamic to help you transform. Let me introduce our speakers. We had a fun time the other day preparing for this because there's just so much to talk about. So let me first call on from Vigor Leadership, Noel Cabigting. What caught my eye with Noel's profile is that he graduated from the University of Divinity in theology and has a postgraduate diploma in counseling. He's a member of the Association of Counseling in Australia. All right. Noel is a resource speaker, he's a therapist, he's a spiritual director, and a program developer. Aside from Vigor Leadership, he is co-founder of Flourish Circle. It's a community-based and peer-facilitated program for mental well-being. Noel has worked as a consultant and coach for individuals, SMEs, family corporation, and nonprofit organizations. His specialty is change management, leadership, resilience, and emotional intelligence, among others. So Noel will join us shortly. Let me call in our other partner for today's webinar. It's more like a coffee chat. So I hope you guys have a cup of coffee. So because this is going to be like eavesdropping of people who are in a coffee shop. Joining us today is another partner in Vigor Leadership, and that is Sheila Tan. What caught my eye with Sheila's profile is that she came from the corporate world, so she understands what we all go through. Okay, she used to work in Procter and Gamble as sales manager for 14 years, with her last role being the Philippine Sales Capability Leader. Sheila is a licensed meta coach, group and team coach, master practitioner of neurosemantics, and a neurosemantics trainer. She holds a diploma in self-actualization under the International Society of Neurosemantics. That's really wow. Okay, so let me call in the two, Sheila and Noel, and let us start our coffee chat. Okay, hi Sheila, hi Noel, nice to see you again.
Hi.
Hi,
Okay,
CJ.
Hi,
Hi,
good
everyone.
afternoon.
this is gonna be fun just by the preparation and the Viber exchange. It looks like we're gonna have almost 1.5 hours filled with a lot of things. All right, everybody else, to our listeners, please join us in the discussion. You can type your questions in the comment box, and we will ask our panelists about for the responses to your questions. Okay. Um, as I said, Noel and Sheila, we're going to try to destigmatize and demystify mental wellness. Okay. Now, Noel told me an interesting thing the other day, which is let's go big picture. Mental Health Law, Republic Act 11036. Can you give us a little background on this? Because I was going to the 32 pages and there just seems to be only one page on corporate. Noel.
I think it's our government's way of trying to bring awareness to people and address this big issue. This is a global issue of mental wellness and encourages institutions to put in place programs and resources that address mental well-being. Yung pertaining sa atin, no, dito sa ating conversation is, I think it's in section 26 where
Okay.
it's mandated that each organization and each workplace would have a program to support their employees on their mental well-being.
So a company should have a mental well-being program, Sheila.
Yes. So if you look at it, I was also reading through everything, and it's just, I think, a third of a page that really pertains to the workplace. And it just talks
Correct.
about a company should have policies that promote mental health and to ensure that there is no discrimination for people who are experiencing mental health concerns.
Because it's a stigma.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
Correct. So my first question is it okay not to be okay?
Absolutely. And maybe to bring it even further, it is not okay to never be not okay.
Wow. Let's build on that. Come on, Sheila. Please explain that point. It is
Right. So having the right mental health and well-being is really the ability to think appropriately and feel appropriately. And so there's this huge spectrum. There's a big spectrum of emotions. And if we are just allowed to feel positive emotions and there are negative emotions are prohibited, then that's also not healthy. It means a denial of reality.
okay. Noel?
I think we're talking about it, Sheila, the other night. No? We're talking about what you resist actually persists. No? So emotions follow a similar principle. Kasi emotions are there because they are messengers. They're trying to tell us something needs to be addressed in our system. So pag niresist natin yan, if we start kind of pushing it away, rather than resolving itself and going away, it may go away for a while. What would happen is actually it will persist and create more problems for us later on.
So you're saying what you resist persists.
Persists.
Mm,
Right.
Okay.
mm,
What is like the pandemic? It's there. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, or nothing my family members or my loved ones or my friends can do about it. So
mm,
how do I how do we cope?
mhm, mhm.
Right.
Um,
So that will depend on what is happening. Many things are within our control, and part of that is our thoughts, our emotions, our perspectives, our mindsets, what we do with ourselves, and how we handle whatever it is that we're feeling. Noel, you want
Okay.
to build up on that?
Yes, Noel, please.
I think it's the pandemic is different for different people. No, may spectrum of experiences,
Mm,
Jan. I think we need to acknowledge that. No, first of all, the second thing is that we need to also. I think the big thing about here is we need um, to figure out the things that we cannot control in the pandemic and the things we can control. Kasi yung overwhelm factor, yung
Right.
flooding factor, yun yung
Yeah.
siguro nagiging problema. No?
Mhm.
yeah, let's
Exactly.
process that flooding. That's like TMI already, right? There's just so
Mm.
much stimulation
Right.
all over the place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they help us through it, because being in isolation, being to go to office, that also contributes, and the news is not any help. Can you comment on
Mm.
Right.
that?
Mm.
Right. And so if we look at social media, because that is where we go to, because we don't have a lot of face to face communication, it's
Yes.
just a barrage of things, right? So, like, sometimes I'd wake up at 6 a.m. just to look at messages, and all of a sudden, there are all these news that creates a lot of thoughts in me. And knowing how that affects me and how I'll manage that is really something that we need to be able to learn.
Mhm. Mm. I
Noel,
agree.
your thoughts?
Similar experiences there now, but also with people I've been chatting with. There is this because there's a lot of unknown, so there's a lot of anxiety going around, no, and a lot of valid questions. I've been sitting with a lot of people who have businesses or work that has put into a cloud of uncertainty. Um,
Yes.
and in isolation, pag wala kang feedback, pag wala kang handle on things, you could create, parang this thought bubble that just goes on and on. And
Right.
unfortunately, we have a negative bias. No,
Mm.
we would end up catastrophizing or seeing things na may not be 100% real or healthy, and then we end up being kind of stirred up and stressed. No?
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
downward spiral. We start with something that could be a fact, and then we think of all the worst possible cases and all the things that could happen to everyone, to everything. And at the end of the day, I'm only in the corner of my room, but I feel like, oh my God, the world is falling. The sky is falling and it's gonna end.
Mhm.
Okay. I heard something that you need a reassurance in a corporate setting. Does that mean the leader has to come forward and do a town hall? I mean, what are your comments if you bring it to a? How do you manage a corporate workforce as you take them through this pandemic, if any?
Mhm.
Right. And we say that good leaders actually lead the minds and hearts of people. And part of that is helping people, the employees, understand that the leaders know what we're going through, and that feeling of, I've got your back. And so, as we go through this pandemic, some of the more, the foundational concerns are things like finances, food. Am I going to be okay? Will I have a job next week? And having employers give that assurance to employees is very critical at this point.
Mhm.
Okay, I'd like to build on that note, Sheila. The voices from the pandemic. The past 60 days, Noel and you have been talking to clients and talking to friends, what are the common themes that you're seeing as the effect of the pandemic?
Mhm.
Noel, you'd like to start?
Well, I've been speaking with a lot of people actually who, in normal circumstances, wouldn't come to see me. So I've been seeing a lot of executive people or kind of leading small businesses who before would want to do something about their stuff, pero ngayong may pandemic, they're looking at it. Kasi the first thing that happens is that what you're not being, what you're not attending to, nung biglang huminto, started to come out. So
Right.
people's insecurities, people's things that were like before, people are not people are just ignoring, start to come out. So that's one thing. The second one is that people want to have a handle of how to handle the unknown. No?
Okay.
How do we handle and navigate something that might be chronic? Now, this is a chronic, stressful situation. It's not going to go away, for a number of years. So how do we go there? And more importantly, people, wanted to say, how do I get my creativity back? Kasi isang nawala in the pandemic is the ability to think creatively. So you've got this really intelligent people, amazing leaders, but all of a sudden feeling insecure, feeling backed on the corner, and feeling that they don't have anywhere to go.
Okay, so those were your experience, the things you heard during the pandemic. How about you, Sheila? What were the stories being relayed to you?
Right. So some people are stressed that all of a sudden they can't be productive. And as Noel was saying, being busy has been a common term before this, right? I'm busy, I'm doing so many things, and it's most of it is distraction. So we're distracted from our own demons, so to speak. And
Okay.
now, when we have nothing to do and the world seems to stop, everything in our minds are now magnified. We now come to terms with ourselves, and there's no escaping that.
Mhm,
And people, I think people experience anxiety and stress, and I think that these are really symptoms of something deeper, like something maybe loneliness. They don't recognize that it's really the lack of connection, the lack of expression of what they feel and think, and the lack of a sense of belonging, sense
mhm,
of someone is there for me and someone sees me. And for some people, like people whose businesses, for example, have stopped, this gets them into this what we call identity crisis. There is what we call over identifying. So if for example
Over
I'm a good over identifying.
over
So
identify.
for example, I have a role. I'm a president of a company. And that's what I do all day in and day out for 40, 50 years. And all of a sudden, everything is on pause. And all of a sudden, my identity is in confusion. Like, who am I now? What am I if not a president of this company? And that could cause a lot of anxiety and stress, and to an extreme could cause depression in some people.
Does that mean that people have been so involved in their work that they did not see another side of them, and because of the pandemic, all of a sudden, boom, you're
Mhm,
alone. It's just one dimension of you.
mhm,
Right. For some people, that is the case. For some people, if they've been pushing other people away, then all of a sudden during this pandemic, they don't have people to lean on. They don't have that support system.
mhm,
Okay, so is it too late? I mean, what do you do now? I mean, if you have that
mhm,
feeling and realization that, oh my God, I'm
mhm,
what am I? What do you do now in the 75, 76, 77th day
mhm,
onwards?
mhm. I
Right.
think this is,
My mic
with what,
keeps getting muted
yeah.
for some reason.
I think I want to speak into that. It becomes an opportunity then now for self reflection and self
Okay.
exploration. So it's once you know that, then there's the question of, well, what do I want to be? No, what is it that I need to be in some ways? No, so yan yung isang side niyan. The other side of it is that you know um some people kasi din, no, as Sheila was saying beforehand, Now, especially if you're uh, worker, a common, day, 8 to 5 worker, a big concern is survival. No,
Okay.
a big concern is that before you even attend to other things, this thing of how will I survive pag iba na yung sitwasyon, pag wala ako nung ganitong sources. So resourcing, trying to upskilling, trying to find new ways of uh kind of new ways of resources, I guess, no, to address yung practical needs, and then later on also to look at that belonging, emotional, and vocational needs later on.
Yes,
So
Sheila.
for
Thank you,
me,
Noel.
it is a good sign, because I think coaches around the world, we would speak with each other sometimes, and we say this is actually good, because all this time we've been telling people to slow down, get
Okay. Okay.
into what's happening in there. Let's understand what needs to be upgraded, what needs to be fixed. And people are always, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong, and all of a sudden they get here, and I'm like, hallelujah, because
Mhm.
we say it's breakdown first before breakthrough. If there
Mhm.
is breakdown, then there's something there that's not working. And this might be just the perfect time to introspect and see, hey, how do I think of things that make me feel this way? What did I do? What have I been doing to the people around me, to people who have tried to reach out to me? And what have I been doing that made me feel like I'm alone now? And just having that inventory of, as Noel says, resources. So resources could both be internal, so persistence, creativity. It could be external. So do I have friends I could tap into?
Okay.
Do I have parents that have been ignoring all these years? And is it time to give them a call? I have been taking inventory of my friends. So which friends have I not said yes to in the past weeks? Maybe it's time to say hello and have a reunion.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is an opportunity, actually.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Let's
Well,
bring it back to the corporate world. Okay. So you a lot of our members, they're entrepreneurs. A lot are working for entrepreneurs too. So do we need to have that connection come in now, stronger now more than ever?
mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, recent studies are saying that ito actually nakita natin with the pandemic, no, with the crisis, is that what it showed us is what is lacking or not, what is not strong in our institutions, and in the big thing that we found out is the soft skills, the what we call the soft skills, which is the
Okay.
connection, the listening, the understanding, the people management, no. Yun yung kulang, and yun yung isa sa mga I think gift in some way, if you could call that, of this pandemic, is that we're forcing, as corporations, as company, to look at our culture and to look at our way of being. No, how healthy is it? No, in a holistic manner.
Okay, Sheila.
Seeing over the years articles saying that EQ is more important than IQ. And many leaders have just been ignoring that. And all of a sudden, it really just looks at us straight in the eye. If your people are depressed or stressed and they don't know how to handle their thoughts and feelings, it doesn't matter how good they are at their work. All of that is not gonna help, right? And so many leaders would say, emotion, mental health, I don't want to deal with that. Let counselors deal with that. And now it seems like we don't have a choice.
Oh,
And right,
I have a controversial question. Is that HR led or leader led?
Mhm. Mhm.
leader, it has
Leader
to be
led.
leader led,
Mhm.
because if it's just delegated to the HR, it's a nice thing to have. It's a by the way.
Mhm.
If it's the leader who dictates it, who says this is important to me, then that means they're serious about it. That means that they're going to revolve the culture about it. And culture is about how do we treat people? How do we deal with people's emotions here so that things are not tabooed?
Hmm. And
Noel,
And people
your
need to
thoughts.
see it also from a pragmatic perspective. Happy employees create for happy environments, create for successful and creative kind of products and services. So that's one the pragmatic side of it. But for a few years ago we had this book come out about 360 leadership. It's corporate language actually using what we're harping on about. Na itong culture change, itong creating a culture is very important. A culture where these things, emotional intelligence, adversity quotient, yung bago ngayon, we're
Right,
talking about
right.
adversity quotient,
Mhm.
is looked at and really organically and intentionally put in place.
Right.
So that those things, the adversity quotient and all this infrastructure should already, the more you have to do it now for our
Hmm.
different companies. Does that cost a lot of money? Because that's always what people, what leaders say, mahal yan, extra expense yan. But is it an investment, a necessary expense? Your thoughts, please.
Right. So, well, actually, the empathy and the gift of listening is free. If
Okay,
only leaders could make time to talk to
okay,
their people, to listen, how are you experiencing things? What's being difficult? And that is really something that we can all do, and this is really the time to make use of that presence. I always say that presence is healing, and even if it's virtual, just knowing that there's someone who sees me, someone who listens to me, someone who makes time to just allow me to talk, that is already very important.
Hmm.
okay. Noel, your thoughts.
It would be great to have programs and amazing resources and funding for this now. And I
Yes.
think it should at some point in budgeting. Pero as simple as having, in your town hall meetings, having a kamustahan, just
Mhm.
asking where people they're at and really listening and really responding and humanizing how we do things. Not just functional, but even our meetings, how humanizing ba yung meetings natin. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be a dramatic thing, but it has to be a conscious and cultural thing. Uh,
Right. And
Okay,
of
we have our
course,
first question. Okay,
right.
before I ask the other more micro type, we have a question from Chigbeya Adriatico. The pandemic has really made a disastrous impact on the economy of every business in the market. In line with the situation, how will management address to its employees that it needs to shut down some of its outlets, but at the same time taking into consideration its role in promoting the mental health and well-being of its workforce? That's rationalization of business is a reality we're all facing now.
And so we've seen how Airbnb has done it.
Yes,
If any of you has seen that, so
I saw
Airbnb
the
says,
letter. Wow,
right, right,
from the
diba?
heart.
Parang that really shows that even if business is not doing well, it doesn't take much for a leader to say, I hear you and I know it's difficult for you. And what he has done is he's really created this I think website for other companies to start hiring people from them. And
Okay,
we can also, if we're humane, if we really care for the employees that we have to let go of, we could come up with workshops, seminars, trainings for them to upskill, for them to learn things that they can do outside of it. I've heard some businesses in the past teach people financial management. How do you create your own micro businesses? And yeah, there are really a lot of things that we can do.
mhm.
Noel, your thoughts.
Aside from that is that be honest, be vulnerable and honest. I think people appreciate it when it comes from leaders who are vulnerable and honest and who assures them that that they hear them, as Sheila was saying beforehand. And again, they're also making sure that you're investing in helping them transition out. No, I think that's the best way we could give people is we may not have the resources to kind of quote unquote save them, but we do have the time, and resources around to give them good recommendations. There are a lot of free things around for upskilling right now. There's a lot of groups too that are kind of helping uh, people transition from one career to another. The best we could do is to point them, if we don't have that kind of talents, to point them to those resources, but to be more proactive in helping them transition. You know?
Okay, so that's just like a helping hand as they move on to the next phase of their lives. Okay,
Right.
let's talk about more micro, more personal items. Anxiety. How do you deal with anxiety? I hear people, I'm having an anxiety attack. What should we do? What can you advise them? Noel or
Noel, would
Sheila?
you like?
Mhm.
So, anxiety is really just a feeling of unease, and there's a wide spectrum of it. Everybody experiences it every now and then. So, some people would experience very manageable, what do you call this? Manageable uh, anxiety levels. Some would call it extreme, like anxiety attacks. And if it's really anxiety attack, the first thing that you can really do is to pause and breathe. And so this is
Pause
where
and breathe.
pause and breathe and just stop and just catch that. What am I thinking right now? How am I experiencing this? So sometimes the heart palpitation is just so fast, and the first thing to do is just slow that down. And drinking just a glass of water. And if you can't talk, it would be great to have someone to talk to, someone to express whatever fears, whatever is happening in our minds. Many of the coaches I have would have a lot of anxieties, and then when they start telling me about all these thoughts, they haven't even finished the sentence and they already start laughing at the thought,
Okay.
because many things make so much sense in our minds, and when we say it loud, just hearing ourselves say them, we'd realize, that doesn't make sense. O nga, no, weird. Niisip ko pala yun.
Okay. So may self-realization na, oops,
Mm.
really good of it. Okay,
Mhm.
Noel,
I
your
want to
tip.
highlight yung sinasabi ni Sheila na in studies and in therapy, breathing changes our emotional kind of responses. Kasi pag anxious ka, the first thing that happens is that your whole body kind of gets triggered. And
Okay.
a big part of that is your breathing. So what I tell my clients is just, why don't you just put your hand in your heart, take a few deep breaths, and to just pay attention to your breathing. Because anxiety, is affected, by the breathing. So you could, in some ways, calm yourself down in those ways. Now, yun yung una. Pangalawa, anxiety is there because there's a reason. All emotions are messengers. And the more we don't listen to what they're saying, the more we get kind of, it gets powerful and agitated. So as you calm yourself down, we all have the ability to step back. And as Sheila was saying, notice, what are my anxious thoughts telling me? What are they about? As I've noticed, without judgment, um, is there a theme there, or is it how real are those anxious thoughts are?
Mhm.
I think those
Right.
are the basic ways of dealing with anxiety.
Okay. Related to that, helplessness. The feeling of helplessness.
So I guess the first question is helplessness about what?
In
People who
general,
feel helpless. Say that again.
with the pandemic, I feel
Right.
helpless. You feel
Right.
like
So
you're in a quicksand and you're
right, and it feels that way if we don't pinpoint what is this about. So sometimes
okay.
I start saying, okay, I'm helpless. Okay, so what is the immediate threat? What is it that I'm helpless about? Is it relationships? Is it not having a job? Is it not surviving after 6 months? Many of people's anxiety attacks and helplessness is something that's very far into the future. I was coaching
Okay.
someone who was planning to leave work and was having so many sleepless nights. And I said, if you don't work, if you just lose your job now and keep up with your lifestyle, how long are you going to live? And he told me 20 to 30 years. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay. And
Okay.
just hearing himself say that, he was like, I know. It's just trivial. I know that the world has many more problems.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So it's really important just to verbalize it, to make.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
And to
yeah.
see, so what is it
Mm,
about? And so if there's fear, what is the fear about? Usually it gets us into this survival mode of
Yeah.
there's danger. And just
mhm,
ask yourself, what is the danger?
mhm,
And
Okay.
mhm,
just shifting that thought already shifts the emotion.
mhm,
Nice. That's a
mhm.
practical tip. Noel, you have a tip?
Actually, I'll even go further,
Go.
because some people find that they cannot think, and process their own thoughts immediately. But the mere fact that you're naming your feeling, the mere fact that you're allowing it, what we call normalizing, that it's okay to feel anxiety because it's a normal human emotion, and the mere fact that we're kind of going through our heads and saying, I feel anxious, I feel it in my body, no, and this is what anxiety is telling me, and I may not like it, I may not agree with it, but I'm allowing it, I'm acknowledging it. That already has the power to shift and tone and kind of calm down, tune down the emotion. Kasi itong emotion like anxiety, malakas eh. Parang ang
Okay.
lakas-lakas.
Right.
Pero the more, kasi nga it is a messenger eh. Pero the more you listen to it, the more you kind of acknowledge and let it be, the more din na bumababa siya. No?
Because you don't want it to overwhelm you. You don't want it to
Yeah.
overwhelm
It does, it is, that's not the function of that, of our emotions. The function of our emotions is to tell us that there's something that we need to look at. No? So, pero when we acknowledge it, normally, no, kung walang problema, we could be able to look at it and naturally, you know, normalize it. And then later on, we could process it. You know.
you. Okay. We have a second question before we talk about toxic positivity. So let's do the second question. We said we said it should be a leader led. Does this therefore mean a third party orchestrated? What would be HR's participation? So we go back to talking about HR.
Hmm. And so when we say leader led, the leader says, this is what I want to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that the leader does it. So HR will be supporting. Like, um, there are companies that I would work with. The leader says, I want a coaching culture. So HR create programs. If we don't have the skills and the talent in the company, then get an external resource. So I would teach coaching, the skill of coaching and how to coach direct reports in companies. They'd bring me in and teach it to them so that they can do it amongst themselves.
Okay.
So when we
Noel?
say,
Sorry.
right,
Go ahead,
Well,
Sheila. Finish your point.
yeah.
so it is not the leader doing the actual thing, but
Okay.
the leader is a model, and the
Mhm.
leader creates a statement of this is important.
All
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Okay. Noel,
Um,
your point on
I
that.
I think too is that in my experience now of particularly of startups, because that's where a lot of the areas that I've been helping out, a leader-led culture means that there are different approaches. Iba yung approach mo with the leadership team, and this is intentional na hindi lang to programa for those under. No, but this is the whole culture from the board, the C executives suite to the kind of senior management down. So iba-iba approach mo dyan kasi iba yung itsura niyan with, So while it is part of ideally part of the company already from the start. uh, HR has a good kind of place there to draw in people who might be helpful for that kind of thinking, no, and help them imagine ano ba yung fit sa kumpanya namin. Let me give an example. Google, I don't know if
Yeah.
they still do it, but Google has one of the successful programs that they give their employees is SIY, search inside yourself. So it is a simple mindfulness training, 2 days, for everyone in the company who wants that. So it's part of their program. Now, that's one thing that people could be part of onboarding, no, part of training. Uh, no, but being leader led simply means that it is upfront, it is communicated, it is it is parang kasama sa KRA and KPIs and dapat eh.
Okay. All right. Verhel de Guzman, I hope you're happy with the answers of Noel and Sheila, and that will help you. Okay. Let's talk about that word you told me the other day. Toxic positivity. I just got, whoa, okay, what's that? Can you share with our friends?
And so Noel is muted, so I'm gonna go ahead. So toxic positivity is that um mindset that we have to be positive all the time. And so
Okay.
it's related to what I said earlier, where we do not allow negative emotions. So I'm sad, I should not be sad. I should just be positive. I broke up with my boyfriend, I should take this positively. And so there is the denial of the actual emotion that we feel, and we deny a part of reality. And we are forced to just be happy and joyful. And that is not sustainable because, as Noel was saying, what we resist persists. I would see people who would just explode in anger or breakdown because these are years and years of sadness, of frustrations, of anger that were not expressed, that were not processed and healed. And so it's really just within us.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um,
Noel?
toxic positivity may cousin yan eh. May kamag-anak. One of the cousins of toxic positivity is what counselors call spiritual bypassing. Now,
Okay.
toxic
Whoa.
positivity,
Okay.
spiritual bypassing is using spiritual stuff, using positive stuff so that you avoid dealing with what's really happening with you because you perceive that as negative. For example, someone who has a spiritual person or sees themselves as a spiritual person and feel that they have to be strong, pag namatayan, no, instead of naming the grief, some people might say, ay, okay lang, no, masakit ngan, pero praise the Lord kasi nasa langit na siya, no?
Okay.
Those kinds of
We hear
things,
that.
rather than authentic spirituality or authentic, really full-hearted engagement, nangyayari is um, we use spirituality, we use positivity to deny what's really happening in ourselves. And ang masama pa nito, we could do that towards other people. We could tell to fix them, to make them to silence them kasi uncomfortable yung mga naririnig natin from them, no? So it's really not addressing things and actually making things worse in a lot of ways.
So in this pandemic, the toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing that's coming in. That's you see a lot of that,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
how should it
Absolutely.
be? How should you cope with that? Before I go to the next topic of grief, okay?
mm,
So how should when you have toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing, what
mm.
do you do?
Kasi ang feeling ko, ang wala kasi at hindi natutunan is what we call engaged compassion and
Engage
self-compassion.
compassion. Okay.
um, Toxic positivity and spiritual bypassing, merong belief system that I have to be okay at all costs. And I have to look good and strong and spiritual at all costs. Pero true spirituality, true positivity, true happiness is having compassion. No? Compassion, first of all, is acknowledging what is already there. Um,
Okay.
knowing what is already there, and knowing that sometimes life is difficult, and in this place things are unknown, and being okay and embracing that, and that's a journey, sitting with that. um,
There's something I'm trying to balance here. If you're a leader, you have to be strong for your people. But that's what they say. If you're a father, if you're the padre de familia, strong for your family. So how do I
mm. Well,
balance this now?
And
what do you mean when we say strong?
Right.
Brene Brown wrote a lot about leadership and false strength, no, the presumptions we have about being strong. As I was
Right.
saying, kanina, and Sheila quoted about Airbnb. What's good about that is that their strength is in their honesty and vulnerability. So we need to
Right.
redefine too what we mean by strong. Mhm.
Exactly. And
Yes,
so we
Sheila, go.
seem, yeah, we seem to have this concept that if I'm strong, I should not show emotions.
Yes. Sheila? Sheila, yeah, go.
That I should not show emotions. And that is denial and that is not strength. For me, a strong person is someone who can be aware and upfront about his weakness, about his vulnerability, about what he's feeling and what he needs. And so, to your question of how do we deal with toxic positivity, so just pause and define what is. What am I feeling right now? And as Noel said, just having a name to that is already a big win. Having a name to an emotion. What am I feeling? And is this the appropriate feeling and intensity given the situation? And how do I want to deal with this? What resources do I need?
Okay. All right. Now, let's go to another topic. The one I got surprised with, grief comes in many forms. I thought grief was just going to be about losing someone to COVID, but turns out there are more. Can you elaborate on that, Noel and Sheila, on grief
Mm.
and
Grief,
dealing
first
with
of all, is any loss we've experienced. No, the feeling of something was there that is meaningful, but it's no longer there. It could be as simple as, you know, yung mga married couples, I hear this, no, na masaya maging kasal, na magpakasal. But may onting kirot din kasi you're leaving everything about singlehood behind. No, there's a bit of a loss there, and there's a bit of a grief there. That's a grief that comes from a positive experience, but it's still grief because there's still a loss there. Now, in a pandemic, hindi lang death, hindi lang losing jobs, pero losing of usual ways of being. Yung hindi ka lang makalabas, yung hindi ka lang or yung buong araw naka-zoom ka lang or wala kang ginagawa. There's a loss of a way of being. There's a loss of what you're used to, of routine. That creates a feeling of grief as well. No.
Sheila.
I'm and grief could be something that's intangible. Grief could be I've lost what I think I could be. I've lost the idea of several possibilities. And that's okay. And again, having a name to it, there's a loss and I feel grief about it, is already a big win. And now allowing that emotion, giving ourselves permission that, yes, this is something I'm grieving about. People may not understand it, but it's a loss for me. And
Okay.
giving that permission already is part of self compassion.
But how do you move on? I mean, so I've acknowledged it, I put a name to it. What's the next step?
Mm-hmm.
And
Um.
the paradox
mm,
is, in terms of emotion, and this is the opposite of what Noel was saying. So Noel said, what we resist persists. And the opposite of that is what we allow just flows. So I recognize I'm sad now, and later on, it will just go away. And we see that in children. Like, children would cry one moment, and then they see something, and they're like, oh, there's a new toy. And that's really how it should be. If we just allow it, it just goes.
mm. Yeah.
Okay.
Ang image nun is parang, this emotion is catching your attention. No,
Yes.
parang, yeah, yung image ng parang bata, no, catching your attention very loud. The more you listen to it and you allow it to be, not wanting to just, to get over it too quickly. Um, when it does its work, it stands back. Parang it gives space for other things to happen. So in some way, how do you move on? In some way, you don't need to move on because there's a natural, true healing is organic, may natural way of this emotion moving aside, and then another thing emerging. No, and we see that now. Yung iba yung mga tao in the first 2 weeks of of the pandemic to
Yes.
where they are now. No, mag 3 months na tayo, so almost a cycle or almost a season, as it were. So iba sila. Merong places that have shifted. Merong places that have given way to other things na.
Okay. How about social media, communication apps? This is just what we're all into, and that's how we communicate. Especially, it's still work from home for 50% of the people. How do we deal with the pressures and the stress that these two technologies give us?
So I guess first it would be good to understand how am I being affected. So, and part of that is mindfulness. So sometimes I would just check my phone and then do something and then realize, hey, I feel anxious. What did I just read? And sometimes I go back,
Okay.
because there's this line from this person that really triggered me. And then you decide what you want to do about it. I've unfriended many people. Um,
Unfriended.
unfriended,
Okay.
unfollowed pala. Hindi pa pala ako nag-unfriend. And
Okay.
nako, patay. And
Okay.
and sometimes yon unfollowing people, sometimes having ourselves a detox, social media detox. So for example, I woke up and I feel like hindi masyadong maganda yung gising ko, medyo sensitive ako, hindi muna. So I'm gonna maybe exercise, have coffee, okay, ready na ako. And that's when I engage.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to those two things. Noel.
Ako yung I've been telling people yung reality of overstimulation, like
Okay.
soon fatigue. And I think ito sa HR side, kailangan din nila maintindihan to, that the way people are experiencing working from home, it's parang doble yung oras mo. So an hour of a Zoom meeting could be 2 hours in real time. So that's already tiring. So noting that reality, no, that then for me it means adjustment. Na I give myself breaks na ito lang hanggang gantong oras lang ako mag-engage sa social media. I don't take more than more than I used to take 5 clients, ngayon 2 clients a day na lang. Mga ganong adjustment. But also yung si Marie Kondo, di ba? Sabi niya, look at things and what sparks joy?
Okay.
Similarly,
Okay.
is this
That's a good
something
one.
that I'm doing sparking joy? Or it is making me, crazy, in some way. So
I
that
have a very
discernment.
Sige. Thank you very much, Noel and Sheila. I have a very interesting question here. Brace yourself. Okay, let's see. Of course, the name's gonna come out. The question is, would you say anxiety can be rooted from a toxic boss or leader? How should we deal if we feel this way? Please do not flash the name. Technical team, do not flash the name. Okay, I think for the sake of his life. Okay, so let's repeat the question. Would you say anxiety can be rooted from a toxic boss or leader? How should we deal with feel this? Oops, sinabi ang pangalan.
Oh my gosh.
No, here's another question. Let's do first the
Aga,
toxic. Okay.
na-stress ako, baka may mawalan ng trabaho. Oh my gosh. Pinawisan ako. I would say that it could be triggered.
Okay.
It could be triggered. How we think, how we process things, as I said at the start, is within our control. And so, two people who could be from the same toxic boss could be taking it differently. One could be saying, I learned so many things about how not to be a boss from this person because he makes me hate my work. And then there's this person who's becoming anxious, who can't sleep, and all that. So anything that's external for us could be a trigger. And as Noel was saying earlier, whatever is happening gives us feedback. There must be something about how I'm thinking, how I'm processing this, that results it to anxiety.
Okay.
Mm.
Noel, your take on that.
Yeah, similar to what she was saying. Well, objectively, meron namang mga toxic na tao, no? And they're really toxic bosses and toxic
Tao, boss,
environments. Okay. What I
colleague.
would
Okay.
say is
So,
listen to that feeling of anxiety. because the anxiety might be telling you that some people could thrive in that environment and kind of could react to that toxic boss, and it calls out the best selves in them. No, but for some people it might be a sign that you either have to do inner work so that you could you know, stand that situation, or it might be saying that it's no longer a life-giving place. No, so it might be good to have someone to hush these things out. No, kasi no, you need feedback from that, and it's not a one size fits all. But the thing is that your anxiety is definitely telling you something about the situation that you need to attend to. Mm.
I like that. Not anymore a life-giving place. Okay.
Right.
Here's another question. Okay, this one doesn't look controversial, but it's a reality. Let's flash it. From Ralph Dineros, with the impact of COVID across the industry, how do you manage the anxiety of job loss? On how to move forward, how to assure employees their job is safe, or how to let them go with no bad blood and look at the business decision rather than the people side. We touched on that earlier, but it's best to reprise it.
Um, could you flash it again? Because there was
Please
a
flash
series
again.
of questions. So how do you manage the so if
Job loss.
the person experiencing the job loss, again, just take a moment first, feel what you're feeling, and notice what you're thinking, and then take inventory of, if I don't have a job yet, how long can I last? How long can I feed myself? So survival muna. And
Okay.
then how long can my savings last me? And then what are things that I can do? I think what we're seeing in the pandemic now is the creativity of people, di ba? All of a sudden, people are baking stuff, are cooking stuff, and creating new businesses. And that just shows the innovation that people could have. And um, allowing ourselves to just settle that emotion. Because if we're so stressed, those creativity is not gonna come in. So just allow it to settle down and think, what do I do? What can I do given what I love to do, given what I'm good at?
Okay, that's the anxiety of job loss. How do you move forward, and how do you assure that employees their job is safe?
Okay, moving forward is what already Sheila says. If you follow that, natural na yung moving forward kasi creativity comes in. Remember, we all had no jobs at some point. No, no, and then we learned to get a job. No, there's always available. No, there's a resources around, but it's a matter of relearning creativity. So that's how we move forward: is allowing the emotions to settle, taking an honest inventory, and then just acting on what we see the resources we have are, and telling how do we assure people their jobs are safe having an honest communication of why their jobs are safe. No, if their jobs are safe because you're in essential services, it's simply communicating. And for leaders, this is big thing right now: communicating clearly, communicating in a tone that is assuring, but it's also very and backed up by reality. If you're saying that we still have this much budget, don't worry, we could be covered for the next this thing. Tell that, communicate that, because anxiety thrives in vagueness. Um,
Okay, vagueness, ambiguity. All right. Um, there's a question here from Donna Villar. How can one manage overthinking? How can one manage overthinking, from Donna Villar Vito?
So when I coach people, first I ask, how do you do that? Each of us would have our own ways of overthinking. We would have our own patterns. And I would use the analogy of a movie of, parang let's do it in a slow motion. When this comes out, what do you say to yourself? What are the scenarios that come to mind? So understanding that, and then knowing when does it become overthinking, when does it become not helpful anymore, because part of overthinking could still have benefits, like it will force me to come up with solutions, like it will help me understand the dangers that I will face if I do this. And we ourselves could say, okay, tama na. After this, it's not helpful anymore. And just stopping it is like distracting ourselves. So
Okay.
I was, if you'll indulge me, I have
Go.
a coachee who said, you know, Sheila, I'm having a panic attack and I just can't get inside the plane. Like just thinking of getting into a plane, I get panic attack. I go to a hospital because I can't breathe. And I said, do you know how to distract yourself? He said, no, I can't. I can't. Whatever I do, I can't. I said, may dumi ka dito. And he's like, saan? Meron pa ba? And the moment he did that, he said, oh my gosh, it's as simple as that. Because just distracting our thoughts and being able to pause that is a simple yet critical skill to have.
Mhm.
Well, your thoughts on overthinking?
Remember, if we look at I look at the person as a whole, no? May thinking tayo, may feeling, may body sensations. When we're overthinking, kadalasan, meron it's compensating for something that we don't want to feel and something that we're not aware of in our bodies. So what I tell people is that when you overthink, um, ano naman yung nararamdaman mo? Let's go to the emotions. With overthinking, what is the feeling behind it? And what is the sensation of that feeling in your body? By shifting that to the three centers, our head center, our heart center, our body center, then we try to balance, that. Kasi what you would find is that overthinking kasi may mga emotions na ayaw tingnan. People who overthink,
Okay.
some people overfeel kasi may mga bagay na ayaw naman pag-isipan. No? So it's almost shifting the ways of being, shifting the state of a person so that they pay attention. And then it's the thinking, the overthinking then is um, complemented by other information that may help thinking to be more effective and more balanced.
Okay. We'll take a question. We're about, there's so much to talk about. We'll take a question and then I know, as predicted, right? We'll take a question from a friend in the industry and then we'll have I'll just throw some ideas of coping and your comments on it. Okay. Hi, Avinash. Thank you for joining us today. Is there a tried and tested coaching training method to enhance the emotional intelligence or self actualization of the leaders of an organization? Hire Noel and Sheila.
Yeah, so I do workshops on self-actualization. Each of those elements, self-actualizing, vitality, unleashing potentials, unleashing creativity, is a 3-day workshop. And we have a way to assess how much are you living according to the ideal self-actualizing life that you have. And our coaching, I do NLP coaching and meta coaching, are based on that. So how do we unleash people so that they could get to that top level of the hierarchy, which is the being needs, the hierarchy of needs by Abraham Maslow.
Yeah.
Um,
Noel, your thoughts.
I do have some. I'm an integrative coach and consultant. So that means I draw from evidence-based approaches. Particularly, I'm pretty much what we call IFS inspired by internal family systems. It's an evidence-based approach to looking at the whole. Plus other like mindfulness and other ways of kind of approaching emotional intelligence self-actualization. I think a big thing for me here is that there might be good technologies around, but a better thing is that who facilitates that technology. Because we could have good technologies around, but if the facilitator or the so ako parang my take on that is rather than just finding at one technology. Remember, in research, it's not the technology that you use, but it's the rapport that is 80% kind of connected to productivity or effectivity of a technology that you use. So for me, find something that is align with your values. And if you don't know your values, Sheila and I, and even in Vigor, we do that. We help people kind of find their values, assess what they need, um, and then if it's a fit, we work with them. If it's not, we refer them. But I think it's important that you find a fit for your culture, for your personality.
Okay, we'll have we're down to our last 5 minutes. So I'm gonna throw in some coping mechanisms that we're seeing, people are talking about, and I want you to comment it. The role of exercise, happy hormones, endorphins. Comment to cope.
Good, good. You should do
Yeah.
that.
Food,
Helpful.
chocolate.
Black
Yeah.
chocolate, dark
Black.
chocolate, not any chocolate. Chocolate with at least I think 60 or 70% is helpful for people who are feeling low or sad, particularly in the afternoons.
How about diet type? Vegetarian, vegan, paleo. What's your on cope? Being able to cope.
I've seen people take different diets and have different depression levels. So I think these are good coping mechanisms, like a regular thing to do. And I would say that it's still very important to add on to that, taking inventory of my thoughts, my
Mm,
thinking patterns, my emotional patterns. All
mm.
these would help, but they would be temporary if we're denying a lot of the things that are happening inside.
All right.
Mm.
So you really have
Okay.
to go back.
Well,
Drinking,
huh? Well,
drinking, aromatherapy, and essential oils. What do you think?
uh, siguro ako yung with the exercise, the drinking, the eating, make sure that you're not doing that emotionally. Kasi merong emotional eater,
Okay,
emotional
okay.
exerciser, emotional drinker. Now, pag
Okay.
yun na, you use that to alleviate and not look at, what she was saying, not make an inventory of your situation. It becomes problematic. Um, mm,
So it goes back to really going deep inside and just facing that demon and just working it through.
mm,
Correct?
and these other things are
Unfortunately,
part
there's
of
no
both.
shortcut. Yeah.
Mm.
There's no shortcut. There's no going around it. It's just really straight there.
Another big thing now is aromatherapy and essential oils. What's your thoughts on that?
So I use essential oils, and I think you have to choose what brand you use. And they have scientific studies that says that if you inhale it or apply it topically, it goes to the limbic part of your brain, and so it shifts the emotions. So yeah, I think it could help too.
What particulars are bergamot, what citronella,
Wow, there are a
lemon?
lot. Yeah, so lemon is wake upper, makes you feel good. Lavender is calming. I think ilang ilang is also calming. And nako, they're gonna kill me because I don't know the oils. Uh,
No, it's okay.
yeah,
Well,
I think
top of mind.
bergamot is also calming.
Okay.
I
Noel?
have no ideas about oils
All
except
right,
cooking.
guys. As we discussed a few days back, this is going to be a dynamic discussion. Um, Last 1 minute for each of you. Your thoughts. Closing thoughts before I say thank you to everyone.
Mhm.
Sheila, ladies first.
So um, take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. And that is how you embrace the core essence of who you are. And that is how you become the best gift that you can be to the world. So live a meaningful life, live with purpose, and let's make the world a better place for each one of us.
Nice. Thank you very much, Sheila. Noel,
Okay.
closing thoughts.
Things pass, like emotions, situations pass, and but you're made for that. You're made for endurance. We're made for resilience, and so just an invitation for people to continue being self-compassionate and allowing compassion to be the gauge and the anchor by which you kind of live your life.
All right. Thank you, Noel and Sheila. Now, we can flash. If you want to hear more from Noel and Sheila, let's flash where we can reach them. Okay. There. Let's take a few seconds for that. Screenshot it. Um, Took a picture.
Um,
Yes,
CJ, I just
Sheila?
wanted to say that Flourish Circle is not my page. It says Flourish Cafe there, so it's supposed to be Flourish Circle. This
Okay,
is the
guys, first,
organization that Noel and I are co-founders of with Chris, who owns Vigor Leadership. I also have a page of my own, which is just Sheila Tan.
yes, Flourish Circle. Type it in, and you're gonna see that. Okay, thank you so much to everyone who joined us over the past 1.5 hours. Thank you for spending your afternoon with the Philippine Retailers Association Virtual Learning Series webinar. We're gonna have another one. We're gonna be on our episode 11. This is how we cope, sharing information and knowledge for the betterment of our industry. Again, we'd like to thank Talk Shop Asia, V81 Radio, Big Benta, Big Media for making this virtual learning session possible. We're going to see you again for our webinar number 11 on June 24. Details will be in our social media pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, and our website. And again, thank you, Noel and Sheila, for a very enlightening afternoon over coffee and soft drinks. And we found it very helpful. And yes, we'll make the world a better place. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again. In behalf of the PRA, maraming salamat and magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Thank you. Thank you.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kantang tatak Pinoy. Kahit nasan ka man, kami ay mapapakinggan. Streaming worldwide, the future of radio in Manila, California, and Hong Kong. This is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin. Ito ang radio ko, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan, kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito